Hi guys, welcome to this video. Okay, I started this video really just baking and then I got into it and I don't want to say I started in a bad mood because that's not really true, but I was just kind of ho-hum about whether I wanted to talk or not, and I just thought, oh, maybe I'll just make a video about baking footage, but instead this is what we have. I make some cookies which are just behind me, but I show you the process. So early this morning, my boys and I went to a coffee shop local to us, and it's a little independently run coffee shop, which is really sweet and has a really hipster vibe to it, just a lot of fun. And my son there, my younger son, got this like brownie cookie, and I was like, that's really good. And of course being me, I'm like, well, you know, I think I can make that. I think I can make that cookie. And so I Googled the recipe, we went to the grocery store and gathered the items that we needed, and it was off to the races from there. Pretty easy. It actually comes together a lot like a brownie mix, but what I added was actually, unlike a brownie mix, I'll tell you what I added in a moment. Unlike a brownie mix, you melt chocolate, some actual baking chocolate or semi-sweet chocolate, and you pour it in the melted mixture. So that was a little bit different from the brownies, homemade brownies that I've made. And then the other thing was that I added chocolate chips to these cookies because I wanted them to be triple chocolate cookie. So there is a chocolate powder, like an unsweetened chocolate powder, the melted semi-sweet chocolate that goes into the batter, and then chocolate chips inside, just whole chocolate chips inside. And so I wanted it to be kind of this triple threat type of cookie, but really it's a triple chocolate cookie, which means that it's really, really tasty. Now, then Shelly of the past is gonna scoop, and she has got something to say to you. This is the first time that I'm saying hi. So hey, I've been making cookies, and I am at that part where we scoop, and I always find this part like not very exciting to edit, and so I was like, well, maybe I'll talk to you all as I'm doing this. And this is an extra large baking pan, so it can fit quite a lot of cookies on here. These are, as I'm sure I told you in some sort of introduction that I will film sometime in the future, is that these are brownie cookies, and I put extra chocolate chips in them so that they would be triple chocolate cookies, triple chocolate brownie cookies. I always do a good amount of holiday baking, but this year I haven't done a ton because I'm just a little bit behind in my holiday. Actually, I'm not that far behind. It's the 20th. Let me see. I don't even know. I think it's the 20th today. And so I'm not too behind. I could still bake for a couple days before the holidays. But in order to get it in before people leave or go away, usually it has to be done a little bit sooner. So I'll be right back. I'm gonna rinse my hands off and pop these in the, actually, wait a second. Get all my hands dirty at once. Anyways, I was gonna ask a question, and my question is, how tall are you? If you are watching this, will you tell me how tall you are? The only reason I can do this kind of angle is because I am petite. I am 5'2" about. Now nobody's quite on the mark. I think if anything, I'm being a little bit generous with my 5'2"ery, my 5'2"ness. But yeah, I'm not very tall. And so I can get an angle like this without being totally cut off. Whereas my husband, who's 5'10", is going to be, you know, a little bit harder to finagle the countertop and the person. Oh gosh. So we are dealing with sickness. I have one kiddo playing with his toys. I have another kiddo playing or watching a movie because we are just laying low, trying to recuperate. There was a cold front this morning here in South Carolina, and it was 36 degrees this morning, which I know is not very cold for some of you, but for here, it's relatively cold and it hasn't warmed up and the sun hasn't come out at all. It's one of those really gray days, huh? Yeah. So, I hope they don't spread too much. I guess we'll see. But I will be right back. I wanted to talk quickly about two books that surprised me. Both books were good surprises, and I'll tell you what surprised them, what about them surprised me, and then a little bit about the book. So the first one is The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. This was Barnes & Noble's Book of the Year 2 years ago, I think in 2019 or maybe even 2018. And so it was everywhere in Barnes & Noble, which is a chain bookstore here in the United States. It was everywhere in that bookstore. And I saw it, and of course, I was intrigued by the illustrations because I tend to be intrigued by illustrations. But I never picked it up. And then I saw Aaron Facer talk about this book, and he was saying that it's a very quiet book, and I knew I had to get it. Plus, I was really drawn in by the illustrations, which are gorgeous. Really, there is only the blue, brown, and black that he uses. I think that's it. Oh, and a green. There's a green, so just a very, very limited color palette. And there is something very quiet about this. There's a couple of sentences per page, and it has little things that are very, very sweet, which, depending on what kind of reader you are, you could really, really love it or really, really dislike it because of the nature of the book. So one of them is, often the hardest person to forgive is yourself. And it's just a sweet little, almost, again, like meditation or reminder. And they're done in this very whimsical, childlike way. And it's all about the conversation that a boy is having with his new friends, the mole, the fox, and the horse. And the illustrations are gorgeous. I do have one tiny critique, and it's that, and it was really brought to light or through a comment that Kevvie left me. I'll leave Kevvie's channel link down below. But she said that sometimes the text is difficult to read, and I do think that books like this should be accessible to everybody, including people who can't read. This very like curly, this very serif styled font. So it's, you know, partly in cursive and clearly in somebody's handwriting. I was thinking that if they just had like a scannable code on the back, then maybe you could access the audio book. If they had figured out a way to somehow digitally hook up the customer, the purchaser of this book with an audio book, even if it was free, I think that would have been really, really wonderful for those who find this book inaccessible. But otherwise, I just loved it. There was just a quiet meditation to it, and very sweet. It's kind of one of those books that would make a really sweet gift for somebody. The second book, and what surprised me about it, was just like how both engaging it was, how beautiful the illustrations were, and how just peaceful the book really was. That's what surprised me. It was just such a calming book. And Aaron is right, it's very, very quiet. The second book, which was totally different than this one, but surprised me nonetheless, and it was... Hey you all, Editing Shelly here. So here's the deal. I'm about to go on this little language struggle, about Martha Wells's Murderbot, whether to call Murderbot he or it. And of course, upon reflection, I realized that you call Murderbot it, and Murderbot refers to itself as Murderbot all throughout the plot. But Murderbot, as Martha Wells wrote it, is very, very alive and has a lot of personality. And I think that's the point, this juxtaposition between Murderbot, a thing, and Murderbot, a personality and a human. And anyways, so in the next clip, you're going to see me kind of struggle through what to call Murderbot as I'm talking about the book. It was Martha Wells' Murderbot book, the first one, which is like, I think all codes red. all systems read. I'll put a picture up because I listened to this and oh my goodness, it was so fun. It's a little murder mystery, very Scooby-Doo style, but here's the twist on it, which is so clever, is that it's told from the perspective of a murder bot. And you know, throughout the story you'll figure out why the murder bot calls himself or himself. I think he's got like a male anatomy body. He doesn't have any reproductive organs. Okay, I'm going on a tangent. So the murder bot, I don't know how they identify, but murder bot thinks that they are not good, and the story is told from their perspective. So it's told from an AI perspective, and so there's a lot about what's going on between the humans and the narration style that's sort of snarky or pokes fun at humans through the perspective of AI. And all the while, Martha Wells, I finished the first book and I'm halfway through the second book. Martha Wells is sort of building a bigger conversation and narrative about the nature of AI and the developments of AI, and she kind of has that bubbling underneath the surface. All of those really fun questions, like if an AI is self-aware, you know, and it has consciousness, is it actual organic being, or you know, where does that line cross? And I think that very, very subtly underneath, she kind of has those questions playing in the background, but in the forefront, it's a murder mystery told through a perspective that's funny and kind of yeah, snarky. I don't know. And you know, he just makes little jokes and he's fun to hang out with. I guess that's what matters at the end of the day, is that he's really fun to hang out with. I guess I'm identifying him as he. I have to go back and listen because I can't remember. But the murder bot, rather, I'll say, murder bot is just a lot of fun to hang out with, and their vision or their idea of reality and the way that they're processing what's going on is just a total blast. So what did I not expect out of this? I didn't expect it to be so fun. I just had no idea. I was thinking, my goodness, this should be a television show. This should be there should be a show that's doing it, because it's just so sweetly done and so charming. That was the word that I kept going back to. I was like, I feel very charmed by the murder bot. I feel very charmed by his imperfect perspective on what's going on, and his narration, which is unreliable in many ways. Wouldn't be a Shelly video without some sort of interruption. But that's it for me. I'm gonna get my little one some cheese and finish making some cookies. But thanks for hanging out. I really appreciate it. And thanks for listening about my 2 most surprising reads of December. Yay! And that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for being here. And I will see you in my next one. Bye, guys.